This morning, the Senate is set to hold its first public hearing on the Capitol insurrection. Lawmakers will question top officials on the security failures that led to the breach of the Capitol. They also hope to determine how to better protect the building moving forward. Senior Washington reporter Devin Dwyer joins me now with more on this. Devin, good morning. This is the first time we'll hear from some of the people in charge of Capitol security on that day. What are you watching for?
Yeah, good morning, Diane. It's also the first time that lawmakers who lived through the insurrection will actually be able to ask questions of those who were charged with making sure they were safe and secure as it was going on. Three of the officials we'll hear from today, Diane, have resigned. They resigned immediately after the attack. They're former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund, former Senate Sergeant at Arms Michael Stenger, and former House Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving. Those are the guys who are supposed to be in the Capitol keeping people safe. We'll also hear from Acting D.C. Police Chief Robert Conti. Now, much of this hearing is going to really focus on two questions. One, why wasn't the Capitol more fortified ahead of time? Clearly, there was a failure in preparation. And the second question is, why did it take so long for reinforcements to get there once the Capitol was overrun? Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, the top Democrat on one of these committees today, Diane, said he wants to know what went right, what went wrong, and how we can prevent this from happening ever again.
Well, and Devin, do you expect we'll actually get some answers, particularly to that second question, why it took so long to send backup?
Well, the hope is that we'll start to get some of those answers today, Diane. If you look at the timeline of events on January 6th, it took nearly 5 hours for the first National Guard troops to show up at the Capitol after Chief Sund first called for help. There have been competing narratives as to why that was delayed, including whether the White House, President Trump, may have played some sort of a role there. It's also clear from the early indications that there was general confusion among those three men we just showed you, Stenger, Irving, and Sund, over who had the authority to ask for the National Guard, who was the ultimate approver of it. That led to some of the delay. Those questions will be asked today, no doubt, but there is going to be a follow-up hearing, Diane, where the Defense Department will appear as well.
And then, Devin, former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund is one of those three officials testifying today who actually resigned after the attack. He wrote a letter earlier this month saying the intelligence leading up to the event did not indicate it would become as violent as it did. How much of the hearing do you think will focus on that intelligence and what they were working with?
It's a huge part of this equation, Diane. I mean, was this a failure of intelligence or a failure to act on what was already known? It's very unclear that we'll get a final answer today, but Chief Sund, we're expected to hear today, will come out and maintain that he simply did not know it was going to be this bad. He says in a letter to Nancy Pelosi that you referenced earlier this month that there was no specific evidence of an armed plot to invade the Capitol. That may be true, but his letter also suggests, Diane, that perhaps there was a failure of imagination to anticipate what was clearly some obvious indications on the internet that these groups that were gathering planned to be violent. There were calls to demonstrate. There were calls to take on some of these members of Congress. So much as in the aftermath of 9/11, our security officials were faulted for not imagining what could be the case. I suspect that will be get a lot of attention today as well.
And Devin, there were stark differences in security preparations for that January 6th rally, which turned into the siege, and for Black Lives Matter protests over the summer. What do you expect to hear on that contrast today?
Yeah, just look at the pictures here on the screen. I mean, these were from last summer. Riot police in body armor, tall fencing, tear gas, the smoke bombs. We remember those pictures. And then to contrast that with what we saw at the Capitol on January 6th. Capitol police armed with little cans of pepper spray and bike rack fencing to keep those mobs of insurrectionists out of the Capitol. It's a huge question today in this hearing, Diane. Why was the White House so fortified in the face of relatively peaceful Black Lives Matter protests that had been going on in the summer, and the Capitol really left wide open on January 6th. Democrats have suggested that perhaps politics and optics were at play rather than facts and objective threat assessments, and we suspect that a lot of the questioning today will get into those issues. Diane?
All right. Devin Dwyer in Washington for us. Thanks, Devin.
Thanks, Dan.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.